Good evening. My name is Vince Noblet, President of the Speedway Town Council. Today is November 14th, 2022. It is 7 p.m., and I'm going to call this meeting to order. First off, I'd like to introduce to everybody on the far right is Grant Kleinhans.
Good evening, everyone.
Next to him is Councilor Eileen Fisher.
Good evening.
Next to her is Councilor David Lindsay.
Good evening.
Far left, we have our town attorney, Bob Clutter.
Howdy do.
And next to him is Jacob Blaisdell, our town treasurer.
Hello, friends.
Next to him is Gary Pedigo.
Hello.
And the vice president of the town council is Gary Rakes.
Good evening.
Everybody, please rise and for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes for October 10th, 2022 meeting. These minutes has been distributed to each of the councilors. If there's no changes or corrections, we'll approve those as submitted. Hearing none, they're approved. Next item is Resolution 2022-13, Additional Appropriation Resolution. Jacob?
Yep, thank you. This is an additional appropriation actually for the school corporation. This will allow the debt service fund to reimburse the textbook rental fund for unreimbursed textbooks. The schools anticipated this transfer being needed and they planned for it, but due to kind of some updates in Gateway, which is a system that we upload our budgets into with the state, some information didn't get pulled in from one form to the other that typically does get pulled in. So they're asking for this additional appropriation. The amount is just under $11,000. So they need this to kind of make that transfer to sort of solidify that appropriation. And I'm happy to take any questions, or I'm sure the schools would appreciate your approval.
Okay, thank you.
And we have an advertised public hearing for this item.
I think we did need to do that for that.
Okay. I'll go ahead and open a public hearing concerning this resolution. It's 7:02. And if anybody would like to come forward to speak to that, please feel free to step up to the podium, state your name and address. Seeing nobody wanting to speak specifically to resolutions 2022-13, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:03.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion. We approve Resolution 2022-13 this evening.
Second it.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. All those in, if there's, I want to go ahead and open this up to discussion. If there's any other discussion for 2022-13. Any questions for Jacob? Hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of the approval of 2022-13, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion carries 5-0. Next on the agenda is agreement between the town of Speedway, Indiana, and Wessler Engineering for the municipal separate storm sewer system, MS4, professional services. Jacob?
Yes, as you say, this is an agreement for our wastewater department to have a contract with Wessler to help them with our storm sewer permitting, the MS4 program. This would help prepare the 2022 report that they're required to provide to the state. It also provides that Wessler would come in to a council meeting to explain an ordinance that we need to have updated and adopted. They'd also kind of look at our standard operating procedures. As I said, this will be primarily interfacing with Brad Sloan, our wastewater superintendent. The estimated fee on this contract is $16,300.
President, I'd like to make a motion we approve this agreement between the town of Speedway, Indiana, and Wessler Engineering, as explained to us by our clerk treasurer.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second, so I'll open up for discussion. Is there any discussion, any questions concerning this agreement? Hearing none.
Just real quick,
Yeah, go ahead.
this is along the lines, I think we have another agreement that we'll pass in a moment, but these are both along the lines of what been previously discussed at several public meetings and so forth. So just want to get that on the record.
Okay. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the agreement between Town of Speedway and Wessler Engineering concerning the MS4 professional services signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, next is agreement between the Town of Speedway and Wessler Engineering for the dry run ditch standard operating procedures grant.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we have been discussing this with the council over the past 6 months, if not longer, regarding the opportunity to better maintain, better manage, and preserve, in essence, an asset through our community, Dry Run Creek, particularly on the north side of town. So I've met with Wessler. We've discussed what we're required by state law to do, what we're required by agreements with our floodplain management process. They are going to work under this contract to put together a standard operating procedure for our staff, how to maintain, mow, remove invasive species, those types of issues and matters, referencing other practices from other communities and their experience as stormwater professionals. Nancy Cho will be working on this with us, and the fee is not to exceed $5,000 and should take about 60 to 90 days to complete. We will then work with a community group, some residents. IMS will also be a part of this discussion, and then we'll bring that back for approval by the council before spring occurs. So there's things that need to be done, different times of year, and that will be identified in this SOP. Something we just don't have. I recommend approval. I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion that we approve the agreement between the town and Wessler Engineering for the dry run ditch as presented.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. I'll open it up for any discussions concerning this agreement.
Mr. President, if I can make a point of order, our audience this evening is like quadrupled to what we usually have. We don't have anyone. I think it's important if someone from the public would like to come up and speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that
Yeah.
should be available for the public to come up.
Somebody, Chuck?
My name is Chuck Schuman. I live in Speedway on Baxter Drive. And I've worked with some of the officials here about the Dry Run Creek issue. I think it's an important opportunity for Speedway to embrace this notion of a natural habitat and safe water management so that we have some green space with native plants and living habitat that is so sorely missing in the whole planet, but especially in Indiana. If it's not a cow or a pig, its species are at risk. And so I think this is an opportunity for this town to get a greener signature about it. Indianapolis Motor Speedway spends money to make things greener. I think we should embrace that and work together. I'm happy to help with that, as I think some of you know, because I've talked to you about it. First thing I would like you to do, though, is amend this thing to say Dry Run Creek, not Dry Run Ditch. So that would be my request for the night, and thank you for your efforts so far.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate your input. But anybody else would like to speak in relationship to this?
I appreciate Chuck's comment, and as long as it's not a problem, I would amend my motion to rename anywhere in the document Dry Run Creek.
Second, and I agree with the amended motion. As long as our attorney is good with that as well.
Just confirming it is a legal drain, and that is a term that's used in Indiana code, either legal drains or legal ditches. Creek is sometimes considered a separate waterway, but
So
I don't think it makes a difference in terms of what the contract is.
I think the attorney answer is that's the legal term that we have to use, which is why it's being called ditch.
Right. But
But be that as it may, it doesn't matter what the contract says. I mean, that's the actual name of it, but
okay.
it's established by the Marion County Surveyor's Office.
Yeah. I think the good thing in relationship to this is we're addressing an issue that has been prevalent, at least along the creek ditch, is the fact that a lot of residents that live along there don't realize that they own the property down to the waterway, the middle of that. So most of the property owners are unaware of that, and so which has led to the lack of care taking place within certain areas of it. We've got several issues in relationship to that. We've got a lot of erosion taking place, and the creek itself has shifted over the years since it was originally put in. And so when I think by maintaining a certain level of flora and greenery, that it will help maintain that creek bed within its borders, and it also will help stop erosion, especially in those residents that that have high banks. Some of them are like 10 or 15 feet high, and it's washing out. So we address it now, we can save up a lot. And then also, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, since they own a lot of the property to the east, I think it's important that we get everybody's opinion in relationship, making sure that everyone clearly understands what their responsibilities are, and hopefully
upstream as well.
And upstream, right?
Just
going for
But just to be clear, I said creek, not crick.
okay. You were a creek.
I did hear
A crick?
little Hoosierism come out in you, Vince. I'm just saying.
I was born here, Gary. Sorry.
So I'm still okay with my amended motion, just based on the attorney's input. So
That's perfect. If is there any other discussion in relationship to this? Not hearing any, I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of the agreement between Town of Speedway and Whistler to develop a SOP in relationship to this waterway, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next on the agenda is approval of waiver of ordinance violation penalties for a landlord license. Grant, you want to give us the update on that?
Yes. Just very briefly, over the past several weeks, our code enforcement department had sent out some violation notices to various landlords for not obtaining and paying for permits in a timely fashion. What we are asking this evening is you simply to make a motion to waive those penalties, with the understanding that staff will work with legal counsel to put together a modified ordinance that more clearly identifies what I would believe is a reasonable penalty for that type of circumstance. As we discussed earlier tonight, there are some ordinance violations that need to have those stiffer penalties. Life, health, safety issues. This is not one of those. We feel like for a $60 permit, it should be less. We will work to better clarify that, the language for our staff as well as others, and then also kind of work on a process to improve that type of situation. So I'll answer any questions that you might have.
I need a motion.
One other comment before a motion is made. I do know that, one of those landlords went ahead and paid their, so it's waive the fees and authorize us to reimburse, I believe, would probably be best.
Mr. President, I'll make that motion that we approve the waiver of ordinance violation penalties for landlord licenses as explained by our town manager.
second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to open up for any other discussion.
I would just thank Grant and Jacob for once you heard what was in play, that you jumped on it right away. I think it was not criticizing anybody in our employment, but I think someone read the violation and went there instead of place somewhere short of that $100 fine. So I appreciate the fact that you both jumped on it. I think this is a good remedy.
I know both Jacob and I spoke to several of the landlords. I know I had a couple of in-person meetings. So we did try to listen, understand, and then try to, once again, make a reasonable kind of outcome from the situation.
Okay. Before we go in and any further, I'd like to ask the public if there's any comment that anybody would like to make in relationship to this. Feel free to come in and
I'm Angela Hull. I'm the wife of Jason Hull. He's one of the landlords in question that got hit with these fees. We understand there needs to be a penalty. We were in a situation that we were actually moving, and so things got lost in the mail. By the time we got it, it was way overdue. So we're sorry about that. Yeah, we just wanted to be a voice of an example of what's happening. Some of us are just regular people who happen to own a couple of properties, rent it out to good tenants, try to keep them up nice and safe and better the community. So please don't hurt us so much. Yeah, so thank you.
No, I appreciate your comments, and I think it goes to point what the council is trying to achieve here, and not making it an overburden. But we also looking at better ways that we can contact people, either via email, certified mail, to make sure that the message is getting sent out and that everybody clearly understands it from that standpoint. But, always feel free to call in to Grant and to any of us. And if you have concerns or anything like that, bring it to our attentions, because, there's a lot of activity going on during the month, and there's a lot of things that could slip by. And this is one thing that did, and we want to get it corrected, from that. Is there any other discussion? Anybody from the audience would like to speak to that? If not, I'm going to go ahead and get a motion and a second on the floor. I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
So just as a follow-up,
Yeah.
by way of practice or where we go from here, I think Jacob and I will discuss tomorrow. We'll probably communicate with those affected parties. We'll work then to put an ordinance together to hopefully bring to you for your consideration at, I think it's the December 9th council meeting.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is ordinance 1368, an ordinance to add a new chapter to Title 5 of the Speedway Municipal Code concerning short-term rentals. This is the first reading. Grant, can you give us an
Yes, thank you.
update on that?
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is an issue that I know several residents, property owners have brought to the town's attention, and the council has asked about this on several occasions. Bob and I have probably been working on this since early this year, trying to review state code, what it does allow, what it doesn't allow, how much authority communities have to govern or even monitor this type of situation. So this ordinance, as proposed this evening, really covers short-term rentals. So not normal rental properties that landlords rent out on a monthly basis for a 6 to 9 month or a year long period with a lease. This is more 1 to 2 days at a time. We obviously are a racing community. Big events go on here. People want to come enjoy the festivities and then stay for a couple of days in a larger property like a house. So this will, such things as Airbnb and VRBO, that's what it's looking at. It's very hard to understand exactly how many of those we have in our community. I look at different times, we have anywhere from 40 to 75 that are registered on either of their sites. My guess is that number increases around race season in May and also increases as snowbirds leave the community and go south and then come back in the spring. So this ordinance as proposed, and we will have two ordinance readings on this because it does have a fee associated with it. If you look under the purpose and intent, it's to govern short-term rentals, both owner-occupied and non-owner-occupied. So that's the distinction. Maybe a snowbird who leaves for 3 months out of the year, that's an owner-occupied. They might lease it out, but corporations also might purchase and then lease those out under these platforms. Occupancy effect or are likely to affect the public health, safety, and general welfare. I think that's what we're allowed by state to govern. We're also working on, we discussed earlier this evening, a maximum occupancy ordinance that kind of will go hand in hand with this. In fact, it's referenced in some ways. Under Section 2, it once again refers to health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens of the town by requiring the licensing of owners of these rental properties and to once again try to ensure compatibility between short-term rentals and the residential character of the surrounding neighborhoods. I think that's one of our big concerns with the practice. On page 3, what would be page 3, 5.4903, this outlines kind of what a operation of short-term rentals and how we can govern them. It talks about parking. You have to park on the street in a reasonable manner according to our code. You can't park on your grass. You can't park on the sidewalk. That kind of covers that. There's a whole bunch of different items, maximum occupancy, once again, referred to, notifications required, et cetera. An owner's contact person must be identified in their application so that we can communicate with them. And I think it even goes as far as to say within 3 hours, they must be able to respond to any concerns or issues there in D. Another item is the appearance of the dwelling, very similar to our other residential units in town. You got to keep it upkept, grass mowed, trash, debris, all of those things are kind of outlined and complement our current code. Also talks about not creating a nuisance. Now, a nuisance is something that inhibits someone else's private enjoyment or enjoyment of their residence. Loud noise, fireworks, I think you even referenced in there, Bob, and town noise regulations. So those are things that we can use to govern these short-term rentals. I won't cover some of that, but there is a permit that is required. It is a one-time permit. So you fill this permit out, you provide us this information. It's a $150 fee, one-time fee. It lasts for a year, and then it will be renewed without another fee. So if you continue to maintain it as a short-term rental, you just have to update the information. It kind of references update information, contact. That's what we really want to get from it. It's not about the money. This is a very small revenue source. It's not a big deal, but we want to make sure that we have the information. It talks about I, as the town manager, can revoke their licenses after, I think, Bob, it said 3 instances or complaints. Now, that doesn't need to be 3 different days, 3 different weekends. It could be all the same in one evening because they violated 3 tenets of our ordinances, whether it be parking or trash or noise or what have you. We can count that all as the same. Correct, Bob? Isn't that kind of the standard? That $150 permit fee is spelled out there in Section 6. Once again, it's a 1-year permit. And then we can have a penalty of up to a year that they cannot legally rent that property out if they are in violation of that 3 kind of incident type situation. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you might have. We'll bring this back to the council at the December 9th meeting. If you have any other input or if there's any other community input, but keep in mind, Bob has done a thorough job of reviewing state statute that allows us to do these kinds of things. We cannot simply eliminate all short-term rentals. We do not have the authority to do that. In fact, that's clearly called out, I think, in state code that we can't. So if we also want to pursue this any further, if we continue to have issues and this doesn't rectify it, our next step would be going to our state legislators, talking to them about some updates to the state code, allowing us more leeway in managing these. So with that, Bob, anything that I didn't cover or needs more detail or any questions that you have, please let me know. Yeah, we just need a motion. Sorry, I know that was long.
No, that's all right. You're thorough.
Mr. President, I'll move that we approve ordinance number 1368.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. So I'll open a discussion on it. First, I'll ask if there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak concerning this ordinance 1368.
Hi, good
Hi,
evening. Diane Masaru,
Yeah.
6202 Meadowood. Simply to say thank you for this, for the start, for some guardrails, for putting something into place. We have become, because of the work that you've done and the others in the community, the darlings here for a bit. And we've been watched, and things have changed. And this will help us, I believe, put those guardrails back around us where we need to be. And so for that, I thank you. I'm not saying that this is going to be the be-all, end-all. This could be just the start of some tweaks that need to be made. And I think that others in the community that I've had conversations with have had concerns regarding this with the short-term rentals. And actually some of the long-term rentals, quite frankly, if you want to be truthful about it. But that said, I'm grateful. I appreciate it. This is our community, and it's ours to take care of and nurture. And so thank you for all you do. I appreciate it very much.
Would anybody else like to speak in relationship to this?
Michelle Leidy, 4853 McCrae Street. Thank you also. I will reiterate what Diane said. This is something that I've been passionate about for several months and spoken to a lot of my neighbors. It seems like a lot of the short-term rentals are really concentrated over in our neck of the woods, given our proximity to the Annapolis Motor Speedway. That's understandable. We're concerned that we're losing our sense of community. We know we have something very special. And unfortunately, folks are capitalizing on that. They're making a business out of it. The problem that I have a lot of friends that have short-term rentals. When we don't use our camper, we rent it out in the backyard, but I'm very particular who I allow on my property. I screen them very carefully. What I'm concerned about is on here it says that I'm going to say host because that's what Airbnb calls them, should check for sex offenders. That's not going to happen. There's an instant, you can instantly reserve these, and a host doesn't have that opportunity to really research who's going to be renting their property first. So that's going to be really hard for a host to be able to do. It should be in there, I agree. What I would like also to see is a buffer around school zones. Say that there cannot be any short-term rentals around 1,000 feet, whatever you all decide is appropriate. Maybe a buffer zone around our schools to include St. Christopher's School also. And when you say owner occupied, does that mean like the little old lady who lives in her house that rents out her back bedroom at race time? Is that going to be?
But potentially.
Yes, or like Grant said, a snowbird, if
Snowbirds,
they
yeah.
live there 9 or 10 months out of the year, maybe they live here and just get out of town for race weekend. Those are considered owner occupied, as opposed to a corporate owner or somebody that never lives there.
Yeah, okay.
And those are all defined under state statute.
Okay. And I've been actually working with Representative Pack for several months, and she's working on this legislation right now. She's wanting to take it to committee and get it in this session. So she's well aware of our passion and our concern for losing our sense of community and just kind of being a transient beachfront community, which we are not. So she is working on that. If there's any way that we can limit the number of Airbnbs, VRBOs, maybe limit the number of permits we can issue. Granted, in the beginning, everybody's going to be grandfathered in, but then as we lose them through attrition and people are going to lose their permits and they're not going to renew them, we can get down to a nice magic number that keeps our community safe and still allows folks to do business.
Michelle, if I can clarify, I want to ask our attorney. It doesn't require the homeowner to check if they're a sex offender. It just says they can't house them, correct?
Correct.
So I think the verbiage is if it's found that they're renting to them, that's a violation. It's not requiring you to check them before they come in.
Okay.
That's how I read it.
Okay. All right. Good.
And Jacob and Cheryl, have you read the entire thing?
Yes.
Okay. So I think we're going to post it somewhere on the town website for everybody to see it. I think that's important for every Grant, if we can do that. I think.
Yeah, the thought would
everyone
be,
take a look at it.
if you approved it this evening, we'll do a press release, put it on the website, allow people to make comments, and then provide that information to you as you consider it on second reading. Yep.
And then the part about from the schools, is that something we could enforce?
Statute currently doesn't allow for any geographical limitations, and I would be concerned about putting that in without specific statutory authority. If you live on one side of the street, you can have a VRBO, but on the other side, you can't. I think that would be pretty subject to challenge without statutory authority. Now, if it's amended in the state legislature,
Right.
wonderful. Then we can come back and change that. But without that authority, I'm not sure it would withstand judicial scrutiny.
And speaking to my neighbors, it's not the folks that, because a lot of my friends own Airbnbs, and there have not been the problems, because they're members of this community too, so they are very particular who they put in our neighborhood. It's corporations that own 2 and 6 of these things. They don't care, and they're coming in and buying houses as soon as they go up for sale, and they're outbidding, people that could be homeowners or, landlords. We need families.
Right.
We don't just people here for a weekend, coming for a soccer tournament, which, that's great too. But we need families and people in our schools and people to volunteer for our town. Thank you.
Yep, all right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Jane Gauchi, and I'm at 5041 West 15th Street, and I am an Airbnb owner. And I will first of all thank our amazing community for the fact that when I have had trouble, the police have been amazing. They've been extremely receptive to me buying gift certificates for them for coffee afterwards, because I wouldn't have. No, I mean, I know they've got our back. And they're so professional, and they're just on it. And so I appreciate that, because I live eight houses from one of the Airbnbs I know, and there are 4 on my street. And one is going to be absolutely magnificent because they've just gutted it, and it's across the street. I don't know how I feel, except the people who own it love it. They're probably eventually retire to it, who knows? But I do know that, I think I know 15 owners of Airbnbs. I'm also a realtor. And I can speak for the fact that I could put them all in this room right now, and we'd give you a great reason to be able to finance that hotel on the corner that can't get financing yet. And that's not a dig. That's a true, we know who wants to stay in Speedway. So for that reason, I would like to be able to say at least, working with those of us who are making money, and making money, I'm going to retire here and die here. And so for me, this is my 3rd career, and I take it seriously. I'm taking a course right now on it, so I take it seriously. My place is gorgeous. My neighbors have a say something policy, and when they call me or text me, they get a gift certificate to your restaurants, because I don't want anything to go down on my property that you wouldn't want to go down on my property or anyone else's. So for that reason, I do think that that's the majority of us. The other thing that I am loving more than anything is an opportunity to show off my city. I moved here from Meridian Street. I lived in the North End. People wondered why I moved back to Speedway, and I am intending to teach them. So for that reason, I think when we have the opportunity to bring people in that were coming from Massachusetts to Missouri and they need a place to rest their heads and they want to walk their dog in a community that's safe, to me, there's no better way to put it on the map to give Roger Penske a chance to have more people go visit his place. There's a way to do this with a high-minded attitude, and quite frankly, mine is very close to a school. And I say hi to those kiddos constantly when they're walking back and forth from my place. So I'm very sensitive to that. There has never been an incident that would have threatened the school children, at my place at least. So I would tell you that for as much as we have probably a couple bad apples, working with us to become better as an Airbnb community is something to think about. Thank you.
No, thank you.
If I could just say something real quickly about that, addressed to you and everybody else. The vast majority of owners in short-term rental platforms are extremely responsible. Unfortunately, there's always a few bad apples. And I found in my legal career that a lot of ordinances and statutes, for that matter, are written for the bad apples, not for the responsible owners. And that's what this is designed to correct.
Absolutely. Is there any other comment?
Yeah, I have been contacted by a couple of the speakers that spoke this evening, as well as several others. I would agree. I don't think it's I think it's a few bad apples that is growing. Technology is a good thing until it's not. And I love technology myself, and I rent an Airbnb or the RBO when I go to other places. The place in Fort Myers, Florida that we've been going for years, guess what? It's not available. So we've had to find something else, and the way we found that was through both of those groups. And so we are a destination location, whether we accept that or not. And what we've been investing the hundreds of millions of dollars over the last 15 plus years is to make it a destination place that people want to come and enjoy themselves. And for the most part, the Airbnb, we're giving credit to those two companies, but there's others out there as well. But it's pretty good until you get that email or phone call at 3 in the morning when we have folks from the east side of Indianapolis that are renting a place within Speedway, and there's, rival, I won't call them friends, but enemies that'll show up at 2 or 3 in the morning and everybody else is asleep, and you end up with 20 or 30 cars at one location. That's obviously not what Jane wants or Diane wants or Michelle wants or others that speak on this topic. None of us want that. And that's what we're trying to avoid, because this technology it's a cool thing until it's not. And we're trying to put up the guardrails, as Diane said, to protect our investors, that being homeowners, owner-occupied, and even the rentals, the longer-term rentals. And I agree we need to increase the requirements on folks to take care of their properties and make sure they're renting to good groups. I think those two companies that get mentioned all the time, the Airbnb and VRBO, they're trying as well because they've been sued and they have their issues. So it's an evolving new technology. 10 years ago, how many did we have? None. So anyway, that's my point on it. So.
Can I ask one more question? What is
Sure. Ma'am, can you please come to the podium? Thank you.
What is the occupancy? Like you mentioned that to limit the occupancy,
So
is that according to 2 per bedroom or something?
typically, so there's existing state fire code as it relates to occupancy. At the next meeting, the town council is going to be addressing a maximum occupancy ordinance that I've drafted that kind of goes hand in glove with this. And what what both this ordinance and that one will do, well, this ordinance specifically requires that you as an owner notify any potential renters what the maximum occupancy is, and that you also post it in there. So if it's a 2-bedroom and you've got 20 people there, we know there's a problem. So that's, it will be defined more clearly in the ordinance that they're going to be considering, but then it's also based upon the square footage of the house, the number of bedrooms and bathrooms.
As a real estate agent, I know personally so many of these properties in this town, and I actually would encourage you as a Airbnb owner, and I'm ready to get 2 more going. You don't want to hear that, but nonetheless, I think as a business owner, and certainly I'm going to throw it out there, but limiting to 2 per bedroom,
That's what the ordinance does.
going to solve your problems.
Yeah.
And it is very easy to do, but we get a higher caliber client, and all the way around, we have much less trouble. And even in this, I'm taking a course out of Canada right now, and everyone, it's something that's you can educate people on, but when you get a local local guest under the age of 25. I mean, there are ways that we can control this. So,
but yes, so the ordinance does limit it to 2 per bedroom, but it's also up to the owner to notify the renters of that.
absolutely, but there's many, many ways. So I love
understand.
that,
Yeah.
even as because it would help to keep our community a community.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, got a motion on the table and a second. I call it out for a vote. All those in favor of ordinance 1368, ordinance to add a new chapter to Title V of the Speedway Municipal Code concerning short-term rentals, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next is the approval of the 2023 Town Speedway Designated Holiday Calendar. Grant?
We do this process annually. The town provides 12 holidays that are approved by the council for our personnel policy. There is an amendment, though, to the memo that is put into your packet. We are going to delete primary election day, Tuesday, May the 2nd, and general election day, Tuesday, November the 7th, as town-recognized holidays, and replace those with President's Day on February the 20th and Veterans Day on November the 10th, and that will be observed. Veterans Day, I think, is on the 11th.
Right.
So those changes have been noted here, and we'll make changes to that before we send it to employees if you approve that this evening. I'll take any questions that you might have.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve the town designated holidays as described by our town manager tonight.
So I got a motion and a second. There's no other discussion?
We've been wanting to do this for a long time.
Yep. All right, so I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the 2023 Town of Speedway Designated Holiday Calendar, please signify by saying aye. 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 All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next on the agenda is a request for a temporary road closure of Main Street for Light the Night on December 7th, 2022. Tammy?
Hi.
Yeah, we just wanted to ask about closing the same portion of the road on Main Street for Light the Night that we did last year. That would be between Gilman and 13th. We would not be closing Gilman, nor would we be closing 13th, but just the Main Street in between. So that would affect 12th Street coming into Main Street. Light the Night is scheduled for Wednesday, December 7th. The event time is 5:30 to 7:30. We'd probably want everything closed so we can start setting up between 2, 3 o'clock. Santa's supposed to arrive at 5:30. We've got a lot of activities scheduled for inside and outside the Delara building, including a trackless train this year. So there'll be lots of fun things for the kids and families to do. And we just ask for your approval of the road closure.
Okay.
Mr. President, I move that we close Main Street as laid out here by Tammy Smith.
Second.
Yeah, I got a motion and a second. Open it up for discussion.
Timmy, you may have said this, I apologize. It's, what hours will you have it closed?
We can close it like between 2 and 3 o'clock, and then, so we can set things up, but the event time is 5:30 to 7:30. And then we'll immediately open it back up afterwards. It's just basically, we'll have the trackless train there, so for the safety of the kids and the families.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of requesting temporary road closure of Main Street for Light the Night on December 7th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Get down to Jacob. Approval of claims and utility adjustments.
Yep, claims provided to you represent those made from October 8th through November 11th, and I'd be happy to take any questions or would appreciate your approval.
President, I make a motion that we approve the claims as explained to us by our clerk treasurer.
Can I get a motion and a second? Go ahead and, if there's any discussion concerning the claims. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the claims as submitted by Town Clerk Treasurer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next is utility adjustments. Jacob?
Yep, adjustments represent the same time period. There's just a couple of them. They're both late fee adjustments due to our payment processor applying the payment to the wrong account. So we're reimbursing the late fee on those. I would appreciate your approval as well.
Mr. President, I make a motion we approve the utility adjustments as presented by our clerk treasurer.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of the utility, approving the utility adjustments as submitted by Town Clerk Treasurer, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next is a report from the department supervisors. Chief of Police is not here, and Jason is.
Good evening, Council. Chief Upchurch is back in town, but he just returned from a cold swim in Las Vegas, so I'm here in his place tonight. I'll try to be brief. I know a few council meetings ago, we reported to you that we have filled 2 of our vacancies at the police department. We're proud to announce that Carter Pell will be sworn in this Friday morning at 9:30. I believe you all should have been notified of that by Chief Upchurch, but we'll be holding that swearing-in ceremony on Friday morning of this week at 9:30 at our training room. We've also offered a conditional offer of employment to Charles Ezel, Charlie Ezel. You may know his father, Charles. He's also employed by the police department as a late shift officer, but Carter comes to us from a fire background. He's currently a firefighter down in Johnson County, and Charlie will graduate from IU Bloomington a couple days before he comes on here. Graduates December 17th. He'll be sworn in on the 19th, but he's also attended the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy while he's been at IU. We also want to publicly congratulate Sergeant James Bell and Sergeant Chris Restucia. They just completed and graduated from the IMPD Leadership Academy. That course is a 4-week leadership course requiring college-level academic ability, which includes substantial reading and writing assignments, computer exercises, essay exams, and a final thesis at the end of the course. But getting those 2 supervisors graduated, we've now been able to put all of our supervisors that we've hired in promoted in the last decade through that Leadership Academy now. So they've all been trained. Lastly, I want to bring up, Brian, if you could cue the graphic, please. I learned this from Cheryl, the last meeting that I was at, that I needed to up my game on visual aid. So we will be holding a Crime Watch meeting this Wednesday night at the training room of the Speedway Police Department. The public and businesses are welcome to attend, but that will begin at 6 o'clock in our training room. We'll also be offering that via Zoom, and our cable access channel will be recording that as well, which it'll be played back, I'm sure, over the cable access, as well as social media. Some of the topics we'll discuss will be winter weather tips, including some important things. We're getting into Black Friday and holiday shopping, discussing protecting yourselves against porch pirates and thefts from vehicles, leaving your vehicles running to try to deter vehicle thefts and those types of things. We also will have special guests in attendance, the representatives from Brixmore Property Group, the owners of the Speedway Super Center. They would like to be involved in that. I know a couple of the counselors were on a Zoom meeting that we had previously, one of these meetings where they were present. So obviously they like to be involved and discuss issues that the public has, if there are any with that property. Other than that, I'll take any questions.
I'd just like to say, Chief, that any report with PowerPoint presentations is impressive.
Thank you. Thank you. I pulled that together about 30 minutes before the meeting. Thank you.
Next up is our Communications Director, Cheryl McElroy.
Good evening, council and everyone. I think I was just challenged. I'm going to up my game next time. In the presentation area.
Chuck will probably be here next.
Just to update everyone on the Holiday Lights on Main project. The installation has been done for the lights, the greenery, all the decor. I think it's going to look really good. I'm still excited about it. We did run into a slight snag. We discovered there's issues with the electrical boxes. So we have an electrician coming out tomorrow. I just got an update a little while ago to hopefully fix that quickly, and we'll have those lit hopefully before Thanksgiving, but we'll keep you posted. You'll notice, I guess, when everything's lit. But anyway, just working through a couple of first-year issues for this. Second is a project I've been working on is Speedway is going to be featured in an online digital magazine called Business View magazine. Speedway will be the lead feature story in it. They are producing a series looking at community development and growth in Indiana towns and cities with populations under 100,000. It'll be a 6 to 8 page article. Some of the topics we're going to discuss is Speedway's history, growth, new developments, what sets us apart from other communities, as well as advancements that we are currently working on. A few of the other towns locally that have been a part of this series would be Lawrence, Shelbyville, Lebanon, and Fishers. Currently, we're going to have a couple of members from town council interviewed, town manager, and then our economic development director. Business View does have over 840,000 business subscribers. So it should be a great way to promote our town and just show everyone else why Speedway is so special. So stay tuned. We will share that on Facebook and the town website. The issue should be produced in January sometime. A couple of reminders I wanted to share. The Town of Speedway Food Drive is still collecting donations. This will help Speedway food pantries replenish their supplies so that the pantries can continue to serve the Speedway residents who may be in need of assistance. The collection time does run through December 16th. The drop-off center is here at the municipal building in the lobby upstairs. Monday through Friday, 9 to 4:30. There's a table out there. You can't miss it. Some of the items that we're collecting non-perishable would be cans of soups, vegetables, fruits, pastas and sauces, coffee, tea, peanut butter, jelly, things of that nature. And then we're also taking personal items like soap, toothpaste, and shampoo, toilet paper. Also want to remind residents that final yard waste pickup will be the week of December 6th. Please remember also to not, with the falling leaves, not to rake or blow your leaves into the streets. And we do want to thank the Speedway Streets Department for providing this seasonal service, because they're the ones that take care of that. Boards and commissions, we've had a posting out there that there are multiple openings to serve on the 2023 boards and commissions term. We have extended it, and applications are still being accepted if anyone is interested. You can find that application link again on Facebook or the town website. Couple upcoming event dates. December 7th is Light the Night that Tammy mentioned a few minutes ago. December 8th is an appreciation event for residents who volunteer to be a part of the boards and commissions. That's going to be a fun evening that we're hosting. December 9th, we are planning a ribbon cutting, or we will be attending a ribbon cutting for a new business here in town, Jaspin Group. December 12th is Speedway High School Student Theater is hosting a fundraiser, A Christmas Carol. That will be at 7 o'clock on the 12th. And I'm already working on a few events for 2023. So that is it. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Next up is our Economic Development Director, Todd Cook.
Good evening. Just give you a couple of quick updates on projects I've been working on over the past month. Spending a lot of time, we're trying to get a tenant in the Heaven Sent building at 5242 Crawfordsville Road. You may recall we had all of the furniture from this building stored in there, as well as some Christmas decorations. And with the help of Rob and his team, we got rid of all of the furniture finally. So that was good to get that cleaned out. But we have an RFP out for a tenant, and hopefully we'll know more at the next SRC meeting. Get a submittal or two on that, hopefully. This Wednesday, there's kind of a final punch list walkthrough at the 1300 block. So I think going in this time when I go in, it's going to look like it's almost 100%, if not 100% complete. But they are, I think, on the edge of getting their certificate of occupancy. But Wednesday's kind of a critical day, and I know that we've talked about maybe doing a tour with the council and the SRC. So may hear more about that on Wednesday as well. Also been learning more about the Motorsports District liquor license process, working with Daredevil on going from a 2-way to a 3-way permit. Alex Intermill has been, I think, helped the town draft that program, and he's been real helpful thus far. Had a inquiry from a consultant about a project called Project M&M that actually is interested in the methane that we produce at the wastewater treatment plant. They would use that in the manufacturing process. So I toured I've plugged in Brad on that, and he showed me around the wastewater treatment plant, and so learning more about that. As I understand it, they really like our location. We just don't produce enough methane for what they're looking for, but I think they're finding that the other communities that they're looking at for this project don't provide it either. So we may be high on the leaderboard based on our proximity to both the airport and CSX rail service. Additionally, the IMS has brought on a consultant called Rossetti, and I've had one call with them. I think they're, kind of wanting to, put some ideas out there for the IMS folks to think about with their properties, and interested in kind of, what's next for the town as well. So we're going to keep that dialogue going. I'm hoping that they will get the green light to talk to the folks at Structure Point about our comp plan process, because I think that they've really not weighed in on that yet. So maybe the Rossetti folks will be able to help with that. Finally, went to a ribbon cutting last week at Crystal Clean on a project that I think has a public safety component to it. It was a $6 million investment. I don't think it generated any jobs, but I think it really enhances their ability to respond if there's a problem at their facility. But got a tour of the place. It's really an interesting process that they work through there. So sounds like a very, very successful business that I wasn't aware of. So any questions for me?
Questions?
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Next up is our fire chief, Bob Fishburne.
Good evening. I too want to commend Jason for his graphics. I used to try to do that, but Chuck would always get on me for making the meeting last longer. So you can deal with him tomorrow. This evening, I just want to report we had our exit interview with ISO. We've been working with ISO over the last 5 weeks to go through all of the ISO rating things for our residents and corporate partners. We think we're going to be able to keep a really good rating in the 3s, which is, ISO ratings go from 1 to 10, and there are only about 80 3 and under in the state of Indiana out of about 1,500. So we feel pretty good about that. Because of our location in Marion County, it does hurt us a little bit with our ISO, because ISO would want us to have 3 engine companies in town, which we know we don't need because of mutual aid. And so those are points we're never going to get, because we're not going to have 3 engines in Speedway. So there are some things like that that hurt us. But our dispatch center, that rating went up incrementally, which helped. And our distribution and the GIS system that we use for our flow rates and all of that, and the water department that I think Luke Adams and now Zach and Ronnie keep up to date, really helped us. So we think we'll get that report back, and I'll report back to you on that. We are completing all of our employee evaluations, getting ready to sit down with officers who have already sat down with their privates. We utilized a self-evaluation process that Nikki and Grant helped us with, so we've included that in this year's. We've always had a procedure to do evaluations, but it was really a good tool that Nikki brought along, so we kind of picked that up, and the guys, I think, will enjoy that side of the self-evaluation side to give good feedback. I want to personally thank you. I know a lot of times I stand here when you guys approve holidays, and I know that you agree that Veterans Day, is important, because I know what you guys do in the community, what it means to you. But I really appreciate that being put on the holiday list that you guys approved. And I want to thank all of the veterans that work in town, and specifically the 3 guys that are on the fire department, Mike Cheney, Michael Bowe, and Jim Bowes, who are all veterans. But I just have a great respect for it, because the things we enjoy are because of the sacrifices that they've made. So I really appreciate that being a town holiday now. If you don't have any questions for me, I will sit down. Okay,
All right,
thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Parks and Recreation, Tammy Smith.
Hello again. I'm going to read a lot of this because I have quite a bit, and I want to get through it quickly. First off, we have closed the bathrooms for the season. We had this cold spell hit, and so Mike got them winterized. Friday, Leonard Park was closed, and Meadowood Park bathrooms are closed today. They will reopen on or before April 1st next year. Speedway Youth Basketball is in full swing. Special thanks to all the parent volunteers that have made the boys' 5th, 6th grade league another successful season. We couldn't do this without parent involvement in the basketball. It is parent-led, so the coaches and the league director, those are all volunteers, parents doing that for us. Special thanks to coaches Bennett, Murley, and Clampett, along with the high school boys players. They're the ones that run the boys' 3rd, 4th grade league. And thanks to Brian Dinwiddie, he is running the girls' 3rd through 6th grade league. And they participate out in Monrovia because we don't have enough for them to play against each other like the boys do. So we have a really good league representation out there at Monrovia, and it's been a good partnership. An extra special thanks to Coach Dinwiddie and his teams for reaching out to local businesses who have stepped up and sponsored our youth basketball programs. So I wanted to thank those businesses who supported us and encourage people to support them. Let's see, we have Lane Lewis Photography, Miss May Designs, Founders Grounds Coffee Company, Apricot Orthodontics, Puppy Pit Stop, Sonic Drive-In, B&W Plumbing, The Spark, Anchor Arrow Creations, and Dentistry of Indiana. We also want to thank Apparel and Uniforms by Tony for their donation of shorts to the Boys League. I also want to thank the Defense Products Engineering team of Allison Transmission for a $100 donation they made to Speedway Parks. Random donations like this help us fund supplies for our youth programs and community events. And speaking of donations, I want to give a special thanks to Mr. Jim Robinson. Mr. Robinson came in today, Brian's got a picture of him up there, with another donation. He has been coming in anonymously donating money to us for the 5 years I have been here. He agreed to let me acknowledge him today, and I wanted to do that because he's generously donated for 5 years, and I want the community to know what impact that has had. He's helped many of our sports and camp programs. He wants his money to go to the help of children. He increased his donation last year for the Speedway Parks and Speedway Library partnership of the story walk boards that we installed in Meadowood Park. His donation funded half of that project. Because of that donation, the Story Walk in particular not only has brought enjoyment to park visitors, but has expanded into an opportunity to enrich our Speedway students academically. I've reached out to the Speedway Elementary School's art teacher, Mr. Mummert, about a school project where students might be able to write and illustrate their own stories. I asked Mr. Mummert to think about different project opportunities he might be able to do with the elementary kids, and then we can showcase their finished work in the Story Walk boards in the coming future, maybe in the spring or before summer vacation. Mr. Robinson continually lets me know that I can reach out to him if I feel a need that will benefit the kids in the community. I had an idea and proposed it by him, and he wholeheartedly supported it with another amazing donation, and that is part of what he brought in today. So I'd like to announce a holiday opportunity for school-aged kids to sign up for the Elves Workshop. For a small fee of $5, the registered kiddos will get to choose from a variety of gift options they will personally make. Once their item is completed, they can gift wrap it in their own creative way and finish it off with a greeting card, which they will also handcraft themselves. They will be able to surprise their chosen family member or friend with a personally crafted unique gift for the holidays. We have 3 dates and times scheduled, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, November 29th, 30th, and December 1st, from 4 to 5:30 here at the Municipal Center. They can sign up for 1, 2, or all 3 days for up to 3 gifts total. Parents can register their kids through our registration link on the Town of Speedway's website or find the link on Speedway Parks and Recreation's Facebook page. Again, another opportunity because of Mr. Robinson's donations. So I wanted to thank him for that. And then I already mentioned about Light the Night, December 7th. We do have quite a bit planned. We've got the trackless train. We do have a few items that will have a little bit of a fee, anywhere from $3 to $5. So if anybody's interested, we're going to have like a Polar Express package. The Spark is on board with that to provide coupons for hot chocolate. There'll be a token bell and a train ride. We've got community groups providing various crafts and activities. Children can bring their letters to Santa to drop off, or they can write their letter right there at the event. So we hope you all come out, and we have a great turnout on December 7th. And with that, if you have any questions. No?
Oh, that's a lot. Thank you very much for all your
Thanks,
efforts.
Tammy.
Thank you.
Awesome, Damon.
Next up, Public Works, Ronnie Smith.
Hard act to follow, Ronnie.
Yeah, I can't keep up with that. I'll try to keep this short and sweet. How's everybody doing tonight?
I'm doing good.
The waterworks, we treated 67 million gallons. We have all the chemicals and supplies ordered through the holidays. Street department is in winter operations, street sweeping and yard waste. And the wastewater is business as usual. They treated 95 million gallons. They took the UV disinfectant out of service until next April. And the lab passed all of its state requirements. And that's pretty much all I have.
That's good.
Great. Questions?
Any questions? No, thank you very much.
I don't know if in the numbers that he stated, I don't know if you noticed that, but we created 67 million gallons of water.
Yes.
And treated 95. So, we're treating groundwater sometimes.
No, we're treating Wayne, parts of Wayne.
Oh, okay, that's a good point. Yeah, good point. I
Ronnie,
retract
how many-
that statement. Good point. I didn't think about that.
Ronnie, how many main breaks
Probably some
have
groundwater.
we had recently?
We've had, we had one today. We've had like a half a dozen here in the last month, 6 weeks, something like that. We had 17 last year. To this date, we have 17 this year.
Shouldn't have said that, Ronnie.
Yeah, knock on wood, Jacob. So that's where we stand. We are in the process of slowing down and going to groundwater. We're producing like, right now, anywhere from 8 to 10 hours of surface water and the rest ground during the day. So we'll tailor that off, and usually between January and February, that's groundwater, and March, fire service plant back up and go that route again, so.
You guys do a great job of getting stuff back up and running.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, there's no other questions. Thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
and happy holidays to everybody.
Thanks, Ronnie.
Thanks, Ronnie.
Next is our town manager, Grant.
This evening, I think all of my items have been shared. We will have our town employee Thanksgiving luncheon this Friday from 11:30 to 1. So it's an opportunity for us to say thank you and everyone to get together and build some fellowship around the holidays. So you're invited if you wish to come, council, so please let me know. Thank you. That's all I have.
Sounds good. Next up is a report from council members. Gary Pettigo.
Thank you, sir. I just want to take a minute to recognize the fact that cold weather has finally arrived. I think today was the high spot of the week, temperature-wise, so not much to look forward to in the next few days, but it was a reminder for me with the snow on Saturday to make sure that you have items in your car or truck keep you in survival mode, blankets and flares and all those good things that you might need in case your vehicle would break down. Beyond that, I want to wish everybody a very enjoyable holiday. Spend time with your family and friends if you possibly can. And for those that are in the military, keep them in your thoughts. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next up is Councilor Eileen Fisher.
I have nothing this evening, but just definitely happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Hope everyone has a safe and happy holiday, and definitely spread that goodwill to others that aren't as lucky as us.
Councilor David Lindsay.
You said nothing further.
Okay. Next is Vice President Gary Riggs.
Ditto doesn't seem professional enough, so I concur. Comments have been made.
I just want to thank everyone. It's been a longer evening tonight, especially those who spoke tonight. I appreciate public comment, especially on items before the council. And it's important that citizens of the town of Speedway take advantage of the coming before the council on things that hold important to them, and taking the time out tonight to let us know how they're feeling. And, it always gives us a sense of that we're doing the right thing when we hear comments and that support us from that standpoint, and great ideas, especially when you have a lot of different inputs. I think it betters the town as a whole. I also want to, just go ahead and thank an additional, our town employees throughout the year have really worked hard, especially coming out of COVID. And I think it's been difficult for our public safety, their concerns, and they're doing a fantastic job of keeping us safe and taking care of us after we get in trouble. And I think they need a round of applause from that standpoint to just that. And Bob, I don't care what they say about you. You're doing a great job. And in terms of the police department.
Guys are.
Yeah.
Everybody is.
Yes, absolutely. All right. That's all I have. And there's no other comment. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting adjourned at 8:16.